lessons, which has so many things to handle and go through. Then she becomes the mother, right? And then she is a human being, which means she has other roles as a daughter, as a wife, as mother, as a co-worker. So
Yeah.
this is also there. And then she is also a mother, you know. So whenever a person becomes the mother, or we want to blame the person for the shortcomings, then we hold on only to the role of the mother. And because there is a glorified aspect of motherhood, then we want to blame everything on her. Whatever was done to them, what was their history and background, what happened in their childhood, from which soul family they are coming, what is their karmic lesson. If we don't understand it holistically, their relationships between not only mother and daughter, but also the mother herself with her own self.
So the emotional aspect, the disconnection, there is love, but there is also that disconnection as we speak. So why do you think that happens? Like,
The mother at the age of 4 witnessed the father and his two friends abusing the mother physically, verbally, and sexually. You cannot substitute yourself and your presence by anyone. The child only wants the mother. Why? Because the child grew in the mother's womb. That is the safest space for the child. It cannot understand any other place as a safer space.
hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Suryanshi Anand, and today we are going to discuss about something which I feel like I'm going to relate to it, and a lot of girls are going to relate to it today. It is regarding the mother and daughter relationship. A mother and daughter may love each other deeply and still have issues with each other emotionally, because a daughter may feel like my mother never understands me, she always criticizes me, and at the same time the mother may feel, after all I have done for her, I've raised her, is this how she talks to me? So these are the issues I feel like everyone has in their home. So someone who is so close to each other, why there's this emotional distance? So to understand that, is there a way we can solve this emotionally without blaming either the mother and the daughter? So to talk about this, we have our coach, Miss Seher. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So, we are going to talk about mother and daughter. As we may all know, it's a very weird dynamic, because we feel like, we cannot live without our mother, but at the same time, we cannot live with her as well. So, that's a very weird relationship. So, my first question is that. So, as we may all know, that the mother-daughter relationship, it is one of the closest relationships, right? But still, at the same time, both of them have a hard time, emotionally they have a hard time understanding each other. So why do you think that this happens?
So that's a very interesting topic actually. When you told me about the topic, I was like, okay, very interesting. So I think, see, I'm going to talk about this from two aspects, because as a metaphysical therapist, and knowing that the way I see human consciousness, I can't be just talking about the psychological or emotional part.
Yeah.
So let's address this whole topic from a very different kind of perspective. See, I think let's first address the motherhood. I feel as a society, not only here but collectively everywhere in the world, the motherhood and the constitution of motherhood is constantly oscillating between two poles. One is glorified aspect of mother. Oh, if you're a mother, the
Yeah.
mother is supposed to be sacrificing. The mother is on the top of the world.
Yeah.
Like in Muslim countries, they say heaven is beneath the feet of the mother,
Mother.
and all of that we have.
Yeah.
And then we also have the other extremely ugly part of motherhood, which is a lot of blame game.
Yeah.
And with that comes a lot of guilt for the mother or whoever becomes the mother. So I think if we want to understand this, we should first um, calm down a little bit about the whole topic and
Yeah.
understand she is first a human, and before being a human is a soul with its own journey. And first the soul, a consciousness with a journey, which has karmic lessons, which has so many things to handle and go through. then she becomes the mother, right? And then she is a human being, which means she has other roles as a daughter, as a wife, as mother, as a co-worker. So
Yeah.
this is also there. And then she is also a mother, you know. So whenever a person becomes the mother, or we want to blame the person for the shortcomings, then we hold on only to the role of the mother. And because there is a glorified aspect of motherhood, then we want to blame everything on her. Okay. So how I see then working with so many women, so many mothers, I see we forget that okay, this is also another soul. It has had its own loads of karmic lessons, situations, problems, going through all of that. And then she became a mother with what she knew. We don't have a subject in a school to teach anyone how to be a good mother, right?
Yeah.
But we create these things in our head. Now, if we take out the glorification out of this, okay, and we understand, yes, as much as a father is a father, a mother is also a mother, and they can only do as much as they know how to do and when to do, and whatever was done to them, what was their history and background, what happened in their childhood, from which soul family they are coming, what is their karmic lesson. If we don't understand it holistically, their relationships between not only mother and daughter, but also the mother herself with her own self, that relationship also would be kind of a love-hate relationship.
Okay.
Because as I said, this expectation to have someone who's so sacrificing, like we have Mother Mary and Mother Teresa, and then we want every mother to do like that.
Yeah.
And then we also have, how could she go wrong? Because she's a human being, no? So first we need to understand motherhood from here. Now once our foundation is clear and we are more accepting that motherhood is just 10% of this whole human being with her own,
Set of
karma
karmas, yeah.
account, then we can talk about why the relationship is a problem. Now we
Yeah.
can go there.
So the emotional aspect, the disconnection, there is love, but there is also that disconnection as we speak. So why do you think that happens? Like,
So see, it can be many reasons. So I'm going to take the word mother out now.
yeah,
Okay, even though we're talking about mother and daughter, but let's say two human beings.
yeah,
One has brought the other to the world. है ना? So let's now talk about two people.
yeah,
It's just that one is playing the role of the mother
Mother.
and the other is daughter. So as a human being, a person can be burdened with a lot of stuff, right? First of all, the emotional distance can be that the mother could never come into terms with what this pregnancy or this child caused to her life. This can be there. The other thing can be she was brought up with a mother with whom she had an emotional disconnect. So this person who is today mother and we feel she is responsible for another life never knew how to create close connections. Okay, and now in a role of a mother, and especially we feel because she's also female, the daughter is also female, they should actually be a match and they should understand each other better. It won't work like that, because this person is having its own emotional disconnects, emotional issues. I'll give you an example. So I had a client, this is a long ago, and this is a case where I was doing a family constellation in Delhi, right? So this lady had come because the issue was of a heart attack. The mother was a heart patient, right? So her daughter had come and was getting the therapy done for the mother. Okay. So, and the mother's story to the daughter was, I come from a family where I was so loved. She was the only daughter and
Yeah.
5 brothers. So I was very loved, I was pampered. My father used to do this. There was always very glorified the stories of her childhood, which the mother was telling to this lady who had come to my workshop, the daughter, right?
Yeah.
So there was this constant thing in the mind of my client who was, who had come, that my mom had such a great childhood but couldn't give us that kind of a childhood. She was always emotionally distant. She was always there for her mother. She never took care of us. She preferred her brothers on us. And now she's having a heart issue. No one is there and I'm the only person. I have to take care of her. So this was the complaint and the emotional distance. And there was almost a sense of I would say kind of a competition and jealousy, because I do a 2-3 hours of consultation.
Yeah.
So when I was doing the consultation, there was a sense of almost jealousy from the mother towards my client, which my client didn't know, but as a therapist I had observed it, and I was waiting to explain to her, at some point.
Yeah.
So now that was the story that child, which is now the mother, had believed. She had lived with that story, passed on the story to my client. And now my client was saying, my mother didn't even come from an unhappy home. Why is she given us an unhappy home, right?
Yeah.
So you can see. But when we opened the case, when we did the family constellation, the mother at the age of 4 witnessed the father and his two friends abusing the mother physically, verbally, and sexually. So this child created a glorified story that I was a very safe, protected child. My father really loved me. I come from a very happy home, because the inner child could have not survived if it would have registered the truth of what happened. Okay, so when she saw the truth, and when my client came to know, oh my God, what kind of a childhood my mother had gone through, the whole dynamic changed. So sometimes we really don't know what the mother went through. Sometimes the stories they tell us or they believed as a child is what they really believed, but that was their survival mechanism. So it is important to understand if there is an emotional distance between the mother and daughter, perhaps there was emotional distance between this mom and her mother. And then as we went ahead in the same case, in the next session, which was a personal session, we got to know the grandmother, the maternal grandmother, was having severe depression as a result of the treatment she went through. Therefore, there was never an emotional connect. And my client's mom, whom we were trying to heal, she was the caretaker and the mother to the mother. So now she already had a child.
Yeah.
And she neglected the other children, which of course my client, being the daughter, felt it. So we really don't know. But if there is a disconnect, the disconnect is coming. It's a carry forward. It's not just between these two. So we need to understand the dynamic of the relationship a little more.
I also feel like to make that connection, maybe in a way it can be a responsibility of a parent to tell your daughter that these things have happened.
Some of them, they don't really know that these things have happened. Unless she came for therapy, she didn't know
No.
this had happened,
Yeah.
This is also there. But the ones who know, it is important to understand, okay, I went through this. And see, a lot of mothers also, out of fear that I went through all this and I don't want my daughter to go through, they become more controlling, they become more strict, they become rigid, that I made these mistakes, I don't want my daughter to make those mistakes and go through the same thing I went through. So this also can be a reason. And there can be conflict. So we have to really sit down. The solution is to be able to sit down and have a very clear conversation and say that, let's say if the mother is telling to the child that I think I am doing my best, but you tell me what is the problem. You tell me why is it that what I am doing for you is not enough, or you are not feeling good enough about my efforts. Where is it that you feel that I am lacking, and how do you want to be loved? This can go from the mother. And from here you open a conversation. This is not the end of the story. The Pandora box opens here, and then you can keep having the communication. But if it is the daughter suffering, the daughter also can go back to the mother and say, this behavior is really hurting me, and I want to request you that if we can find a solution around it. So the conversations should be open. When one of the two becomes defensive and the conversation shuts down, then there is a problem. Then we have to look beyond that, why the person can't even have a clear communication.
That is true. Yeah, that brings me to my next question, the controlling part of it. Like we all know, a lot of mothers are very controlling. They control every single aspect of it. So the daughter may feel some kind of tension, and like obviously then fights they occur. So what do you say, like how daughters should tackle those kind of situations in arguments?
So I think, see, one thing that the daughters should always remember is that in at least 80% of the cases, the mother wishes well for the daughter.
Yeah.
No mother wants that, you know, I should suffocate my child, whether it's a boy or a girl. Now we're
Yeah.
talking about daughters. Perhaps because daughters are also emotionally more sensitive and delicate, and also physically, you know. We don't have the same strength as a boy would have. We don't think like boys do. We have a different type of body. We have different kind of set of way of living, which may attract more attention by way of nature. We are built like that, right? Now, if the mother is too controlling, it can be a reason that she made too many wrong choices herself and she doesn't want to. And in 80% of the cases, mothers don't want to hurt their children. They really want to take care. And from where this so much of control is coming. And why I say 80%, because we also have 20-30% of the mothers which are clinically ill.
Yeah.
They can be having any psychological or mental issue, you know, it can be anything, which of course shows in the emotional way of reacting or responding to a situation, okay, or in their behavior. But around 30% or maybe more, actually, we have people, because mother or no mother, human being, the psyche can be, you know, affected by anything, can be traumatized, right?
Yeah.
So let's say the mothers who don't have that, they have trauma, they are aware of it, they have dealt with it, but they are very controlling. Usually it is because they feel they made way too many mistakes, or one or two major mistakes of their life, let's say about especially relationships or something has gone really wrong, and they are in a space of repent and regret. Now when the mother herself is regretting, will be controlling towards the daughter because she doesn't want her to make the same mistake. So again, we need to find out what is it that she's regretting so much that she fears that the daughter will do a similar thing.
So mostly it's love, you know, hide under that. So my next question is that a lot of daughters, they say that I know my mother loves me deeply, but I feel misunderstood by her. So what do you think in that aspect? Like, what's the main issue of that? That your mother loves you deeply, but still she fails to understand you emotionally as a girl or as a human being.
So I think we can address this in two parts. One are the mothers who have an issue, and again, let's take the glorified role of the mother out, and with all due respect to this, you know, role and the, you know, institution of motherhood, let's understand that even that person is just a human being trying to do its best, and comes from a lot of wounds, comes from a lot of perhaps regret, decisions that didn't go well, you know, things that happen. And as a human being, there is so I don't want to generalize, but we have an issue of jealousy with females, right? There is, and a lot of mothers have an issue when the daughter takes away the father's attention, especially if the daughter is the first child, right? Um, or even the third child, or I mean the last child. Okay, the middle child usually is a sandwich. Poor thing. She's if it is a daughter, she's neither here nor there. But anyway, so when this happens and when there is a void, emotional void within the mother from the childhood where she didn't get the validation, affection, and love of the mother, or she was subject to the same kind of jealousy from her own mother because the father really loved her and paid attention. Now that carryover will carry forward, and then you may feel very close, but like the client I had, and I have had it in so many other cases also, this jealousy and need for attention and validation from, you know, the father or the society, whatever it can be, that can be the cause where despite being so close, the mother is, it's not that she doesn't want to, she is not capable of understanding because you get so blinded by certain things. So if you have a friend, or you just observe, if you have a friend or in your peers you see a mother of a friend who's very attention seeking by way of the way she behaves, she cuts everyone, she's always so loud, wherever she goes she wants to stand out, that person's daughter will surely have problem in all relationships, and also with her. Okay, because we haven't learned to understand that everyone is supposed to have a position in life. No one can take over your place. That void of the child, the inner child, this is an inner child issue, right? So one is this type of distance where it's a carryover, you know, whatever the person is carrying, you will pass it on. See, if I am having chocolate in my pocket, I'll give you chocolate. If I am having poison, if you ask me, I'll be giving you poison. So if the mother has what she's carrying, how will she give anything more to the daughter or any person for that matter, right? Now the second type is that the mother really wants to do well. There is no need for attention, nothing, no such thing. But still there is this, you know, I would say kind of rigidity where the person is not able to see that life has moved on, society has changed, you know, this child of mine is another human being. Yes, it is an extension of me, but it's not me. So again, this is the place where um, uh, so it can be two reasons. One is that again the regret part, but the second thing which can be the mothers or human beings who think they know it all. You know, there is this rigidity to learn, to adapt, to change, because they are so fearful that if my daughter is the way I don't know how to deal with, then I will not be able to give her a good life. Again, it is coming from love. Again, it is coming from wanting to provide. It is coming from wanting to stand up to the role or glorification of the motherhood, because it's not only you're trying to do something for your child, you also need to tell the society you are a good mother. Otherwise, the society will hang you upside down, right? So, it is such a heavy burden. So, now I don't know what to do next. The only thing I can do is to be rigid and do not allow my child to do what she wants, you know, or the way she wants, because I don't know any better. The problem is, see, the problem with motherhood is no one has educated us how to be a mother, but there's so much of expectation. We haven't resolved ourselves and we want to take care of another soul whom we don't even know what is the soul plan, what is the characteristics, behavior, the DNA from the father, paternal ancestry, maternal ancestry. Now we want to control that because we couldn't control our own life. Now let me control something else outside of me. And I'm not saying that these mothers are bad mothers or they are doing wrong. With all due respect, they are doing the best they can. But maybe the best they can is not the best for that child. This is where the gap is. They need to understand the best for me or for this child can't be the best for the other. I need to adapt, I need to change, I need to try and understand what this child is about, what are her gifts, limitations, shortcomings, from where is it coming, which DNA and genetics is more. I have a case of a lady with two daughters. Okay, the elder daughter is quite confident, independent, and very authoritative and strong. The younger daughter is I think the elder daughter perhaps has taken over from the DNA of the maternal grandmother, who was very authoritative. She believed she is doing the best. No one could talk in front of her, and what she said was written on the wall, hacked into stone, and no one could object. So that's the eldest elder. Now the younger daughter is a copy of the daughter, because that stronger daughter made my client, who's the lady mother of these two, right? So the elder daughter of my client is exactly like the Nani ji, maternal grandmother, right? Strong, authoritative. I will not listen to no one. What I say, you have to do, and she doesn't care a damn. Okay. Now, but that strong mother gave birth to my client who didn't even know what is her favorite food, what does she like to wear, what hairstyle she wants to have, because the mother didn't allow her to take any decision. Now, the second child is a copy of my client. She really doesn't know what she wants. She doesn't know where she is. She's constantly looking for validation and thinking I'm always wrong because my client felt. Now, same mother, two different type of, and both daughters, two different type of daughters. Why? Because the carryovers, inner child, soul plan, you know, and the DNA, and what she needs to learn, the mild child, and what the other child needs to learn are totally opposite, right? Now my client can't behave with both of them the same. She has to learn to adapt. Where the gap comes now, when you don't know how to understand your child, that's where the both lose basically.
Sometimes it happens that mother might give attention or uh, give comfort to their relatives, to their friends, even father, or your sister-in-law and some other female peers. They become that, oh, I am that person, I'll give you comfort, I'll give you whatever you need emotionally. But at the same time, when it comes to their daughters, they're like, "Ki, oh, you're so becoming sensitive, just don't be like this." So what do you think, how it can impact a girl in a way that their mother is behaving like they're emotionally available for other people, but at the same time they're not emotionally available for their daughter? So how it can affect a child in?
Of course, it will affect the child because their need for, their attention. See, one is love. I have love in my heart, but if I don't express it to you, how will you know? So, and as a child, the child doesn't know, right? The child will only understand through, behavior, whatever, right? And if a mother is emotionally, mentally absent, it is going to affect the child. It is going to make the child a needy child, someone who will seek attention outside, perhaps will have multiple relationships, and most of them will fail. She will have self confidence issues. She will have a need for, she would never be sure of anything, indecisive. All these things can be a result of not only the mother but both parents, if they're mentally and also physically, emotionally unavailable to the child. So the child will, and the child can grow up in two ways: to become an avoidant, emotionally avoidant. So what happens is, with emotionally avoidant, is they will have relationships and they would really need connection because they haven't had it at home. The moment the person they are dating becomes serious and wants to really give them love, they shut down, they run, because that's not what they know how to handle. Then it becomes overwhelming. So they fly the situation, or they can become clingy and people pleasers. So in both ways they're going to lose, because here they don't allow connection to happen. There they're almost begging for connection, and that can be suffocating to the other partner, at some point. So this is how it will affect the child. But at the same time, why a person like that, a parent like that, will do everything for others and not for the child, is because again the child grew up seeking validation, is a people pleaser, grew up with emotionally unavailable mother or both parents. So you see how it goes. It never jumps. It just straight away goes to everyone.
So it is very important to be emotionally present as.
Yeah, emotionally, physically. See, what has happened is nowadays, I don't know what's going to happen to generation after yours, especially because now mostly, if the mothers are not working, mothers are simply not present, because thanks to feminism. Now feminism is all about, even if you're not working, you just should be roaming around and doing your things, and children in our country are growing with the helps at home. But that is not a substitute. Even grandparents are not a substitute. I have had thousands of cases where mom dad had to work and they were transferred to another city. They left one or both children with grandparents or aunt or someone from the family. They adored them. They really took care of them. But forever, my client came to the clinic and cried that my mom was never there for me. You cannot substitute yourself and your presence by anyone. The child only wants the mother. Why? Because the child grew in the mother's womb. That is the safest space for the child. It cannot understand any other place as a safer space. And then we want to overcompensate our children because we were emotionally, mentally, physically not there. We were never there with, gifts and glorious parties and holidays. That's going to just spoil the child, because the child is looking for connection. And if cannot find connection here, will try to find connection somewhere else. The child may find the connection, will not be able to hold on to it because it has never practiced that before. And our subconscious only learns through practice. Whatever the child sees, copies. What you tell the child, be a good child, is not going to work unless you show what is a good child. You have to show it. And if you are not there to show anything, how would the child survive this world?
So, ma'am, what do you think, in your opinion, someone who's also like working, especially women, how they can tackle this situation if they have a kid whom they're, ignoring emotionally at one point? So, they have their responsibilities, but also they want to give most of their time.
See, I think the biggest responsibility is if you have a child, that is your biggest responsibility. There's no other bigger responsibility than that, okay? So, first of all, if you really want to work and you are career oriented, or if you're a kind of a person who cannot handle responsibility, I think the best decision is not to have the child. Now, if you have the child, that is your biggest, most important responsibility, not only because it is your child, but also because it is the next generation. You know, it's going to decide a country's fate at some point, right? So, I think that's the biggest responsibility. How much ever I want to do, say that you should be able to do a work life balance, that really in this case can be a difficult task. So, what I suggest is, even if you want to work, look for opportunities where it is part time. You know, you have to reduce your expectations from life a little bit and increase your input. At least for the first 7 years, you need to be with the child as much as you can. And why 7 years? Because the character of the child and everything that the child learns is decided within these 7 years. Whether your child is a strong person, will be some grow up someone to be a very nice person, an achiever, a loser, whatever we call. There is nothing called loser, but I'm just loosely using the language. Okay, so this is decided in the first 7 years. After that, we are just recycling with different variation and some little bit of ketchup here and masala there. It's just the same character. It's going to be refurbished and it's going to be recycled. Nothing new is going to come unless the person goes into therapy, right? So the first 7 years are extremely important. Have a child when you can, but now if you have the child, then please reduce the working hours. And when you're with the child, be with the child. It's not that you're with the child, you're on your phone and the child is on his screen. This is not being with your child. I'm sorry. You're just trying to fool yourself, because you can't fool the child, neither you can fool the society. The results after 18 years would be out and you will be the one regretting it. So quality time, indulge in art, new experiences. Even if you're going for a travel, it shouldn't be because you want to post your happy pictures on the Facebook or Instagram or somewhere. You're going, you want to show the wildlife in that place to the child. You want to show the culture of that place, make the child test new things, interact with people, bring new experiences while you're present with the child. Why? Because when new experiences are clubbed with your presence, the child will feel safe in different new environments. Therefore, tomorrow, if they have to go for, follow their dreams, travel another place, they can take care of themselves. But if you don't want to do that and you don't have time for it, please don't have child.
It's a very big responsibility.
It's the only responsibility. It's another human life. How can you have something else more important? If you go to a doctor to save your loved one's life and the doctor says, "Oh, I will see if I can handle this. First, let me earn money, then I'll come here." Would you like it? The same way the doctor is supposed to save lives and we expect them to do, parents, not only mother, are supposed to build a child. And if they don't do, then that's a big problem.
So my next question from you is that it is very common these things happen. A lot of mother compare their daughters with siblings, or a person, or a daughter, or a girl who's doing much better than their daughter. In their feel, they're trying to motivate the kid, but for a daughter it feels like they're comparing,
Which they are.
so that constant comparisons and saying, do this, she's doing it well, you do that. So how it can affect a kid in that aspect?
See, if it is done in an educative way, then it shouldn't affect the child. Educative way means that when you sit down with your daughter or child and you are telling that, see, I can see you have these, strengths. I see you are so good at this, and whatever. You sit down the child and you first talk about all the good things they are. And then you tell them, and I know you can improve in this. If you tell me what is not letting you do better. And if you are having an educative talk and then you even compare, the child won't feel anything. You know? because it is correct. You know, you would be good at something I would not be good at. Now it's a choice whether I want to become as good as you or better than you, but you should be giving me that opportunity for me to make that choice. But if you're good at something and I'm not good, and you start, you know, telling me and, you know, hammering me with what is not good enough in me, you are not only not letting me do what I can do, but also you will demotivate me to the extent that even if I am good at something, I'll not do it because I don't have the zeal to do it. Now you have told me I'm not good enough. Now you have told me that other people are doing better, therefore I am not a good child perhaps, or I am a useless person, whatever is the message. As a child, I don't know what the message everyone takes, right? It can also work in the other way. The person becomes overachiever. That's also a sickness. Overachieving is not a good thing. That is also a sickness. Okay, everything should be balanced. So if we do this in an educative format, the way I told you, then nothing will happen to the child. But if we want to hammer the child, it's not the child, it's anything. You know, you tell your life partner also every day, you're bad, you're this, you're that. At some point, he or she will decide, if the person is telling me, I may as well do it, you know, or to hell with it. They become numb to it. So this straight away comparisons with a tone that is not very healthy and is coming from a space of wanting to tell the child, you know, you're not really good enough. This is going to hammer the child, and this is really going to become an obstacle in growth, or actually cause them to really live a life out of balance, become too career oriented, too obsessed with growth and progress and success, and leave other things behind, right? Or it can make the child people pleaser. Now the child is doing not because she enjoys, but just because, you know, everyone should think she's doing well or he is doing well, right? So this right way is to be able to be very informative and also have a good judgment in the sense observation of your child. What is your child good at? Now it is like, now if my child, you know, it's like you go to the jungle and compare a, you know, ant with an elephant and tell them, the ant, why can't you do like elephant, or tell the elephant, why are you not building home and storing food like an ant? How is it possible? Everyone is different. Your child can't be doing what others doing exactly the same way, you know. So we have to also know what is the child good at, and then enhance that, and the weaknesses one can work on together.
That is true. So, to talk about now, let's talk about mothers' POV, because our mothers, they also go through a lot of stuff in their life, and they also had their traumas, right? So sometimes we feel as daughters we want to help our mothers, to understand them better and to give her comfort. But in that sense, in that road, we also become their emotional partner, telling all the issues, all the financial stress, or if they have any trauma in the past. So in a way, we become the emotional partner, the therapist. So we want to understand them, but at the same time, it also becomes a burden at one point. So how can we make that balance, that we want to comfort our parents, we want to comfort our mother, but at the same time we want to draw a line, so in a way it does not affect us.
Actually, if you have reached a level where you want to now parent a parent, it has already affected you. Now you need to go and find a therapist and do some inner child work. No, I am laughing, but it's really serious, and I am a great example of that. Um See, and genuinely, if the person is reached there where now you are becoming the sponge, emotional sponge to the mother, and you are now being burdened by her emotional issues, then it's a major gap of the bringing up, you know. And of course, the mother was having her own issues and went through things, and maybe didn't have access to any information to know what's wrong. And or it can be a kind of a mother who decided that, you know, I'm gonna, we have this kind of mothers, gonna turn my children against so and so by dumping my emotions. And it also comes from a insecurity, that because I feel in this household no one is mine, I will make sure that they're poisoned enough to stay mine, and they are not on the other side of the father or the family or whoever, right? So we also have those kind of mothers, and it doesn't make them wrong, but it makes them ill. See, we have physical illness, we also have mental illness, emotional illness, spiritual illness, you know. So this is something really the child can't do much. Perhaps the child needs either a counselor or a therapist to understand you are the child. Your role is to stay the child, and your role is not to parent the parents or take over their emotional burden. We need to understand they had their own thing, they had their own drama, and it is their responsibility to deal with that. Child responsibility is to deal with her or his own issues, and the parent responsibility is to help the child do that. It's not the child responsibility to do the same. Yes, physically taking care of our parents as we grow young, you know, more strong, we also grow older actually, but let's say we become young adults, then yes, physically we can be there, we can also work and financially support the family, but to emotionally there is an extent, you know, when it is costing you your peace, when it is costing you your relationship with the other parent or other family members, when it is coming and poisoning your mind about other people, and now you no more know, you cannot trust the environment anymore because you're so told that everyone and everything went wrong and she's the poor girl. So she's operating from victimhood, not taking responsibility for her own pain. Yes, the pain is real, but it is her responsibility to heal it. It's not the child's. You can hear it once in a while and but if you're taking that role, then both mother and daughter need help. Yeah. Yeah, really.
Mostly a child can do is just hear it and
We really don't need to download these stuff to the child. You know, the child should have a very neutral base, and once they grow they will understand who is right and wrong as per what they need to understand. But if we keep, you know, I have so many children that if the mom, small children, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, if the mom and dad are there and then one of the parents is the kind which I explained, which will poison or feel or overreact if the child is more, you know, connected to the other spouse, the other parent, the child looks at that parent which is the difficult one, and if she or he is around will say, no, I love, let's say, papa more, you know, because papa is a difficult one, or I love mama more because and the moment the mother is there, goes and tells the father, because she gets annoyed I said this, you know, I love you equally. I have seen so many. I had a family friend and they had two children. One was, I think, 6 year old then, and one was about 10 year old, daughter elder, and then we were doing some activity together. I don't want to really disclose too much because if they watch my video, they would know who am I talking about. We were doing some activity and the son, which was younger, did something, and I say, oh, don't do this, you know, you have done enough of, let's say, jumping or showing something. He says, no, papa is around now, I need to be a good boy, otherwise he will get angry. Okay, and then I was asking the daughter who was elder that, you know, are you comfortable doing this? Because I could sense the child is not enjoying what we are doing. So if you're taking them out for them to enjoy and making them do something which they are not enjoying, what is this? I mean, so funny, right? I asked her, I said, are you sure you're enjoying it? She said, don't say anything. My mom will get angry. I'll talk to you auntie later. As of now, she should think she should know I love her and I'm doing what she wants me to do. This is toxic, you know. This is what we are doing to children when we download too much of emotional stuff to the child.
so this was like how like he was like how much old?
6 year old. And another child I have had, 3 or 4 year old, that in front of all of us said, I love mama more. Okay. The moment the mother went to the kitchen, went to the father and apologized, said, Papa, I love you so much, but you know, she gets angry, na? She shouts.
Yeah. But the kid has become so emotionally mature in such a young age.
He hasn't become mature. He is now confused. How am I supposed to behave to remain safe, to keep the peace? Now he has become the peacemaker of the house. Na? You see the burden on a 4 year old child.
That is a lot. Ma'am, so whoever is watching our podcast today, if there is any message you can give to them, especially a mother-daughter duo who's having issues and they want to heal it, so what would be the first step?
I think I would say accept each other. taking the roles out, accept each other as two people living in the same house. Yes, the mother is elder, has given birth, but she also has had his own issues. So look at each other as human beings before the mother role or the father role, right? And then from the mother side, I say that yes, we understand you went through a lot, and we understand that you have perhaps have a lot of guilt because some places you felt I wasn't a good mother. Most mothers have it, almost 100% of them, because we are human beings. It's not the mother. Fathers also will have it. And so now look at the relationship with your daughter, not knowing that she's another person, and if you guide her, she will not make the same decisions. It's just that you need to know how to tell your daughter and be honest about the mistakes you made. You don't want to be friends with your daughter, but you don't want to be a strict mother also. You want to be someone who's understanding, who's open to communication, and when need be, you want to honestly tell your daughter the pain you went through, not download it. Just tell her that I know I went through this and I know how to handle it, but please you don't go through it. So I think this is a good start.
And an open communication definitely helps. Yeah. So thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. And I hope whatever insights you have given, I will apply to it my life. And whoever is watching, they get good information from here. So if you have any doubts, you can ask us from the comment section. And thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day. Goodbye.